is the CDJ 550 driver. Okay, so I'm going to say finish here, and now things are going to be created. You can see now that my queue is listed. It's a local queue. It's on the LP0 device, and let me hit apply here so that I can apply it, and it says, look, LPD restart was successful. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to close this now, and we're done with our print tool configuration. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go and we'll look at the Etsy printcap file. Okay. Now, one thing you have to notice here is that do not edit this file manually because changes will be lost. Okay. If you want to edit this, if you want to make a printer, add a printer manually, do it in the printcap local file, and then what happens is printcap local gets added to the end of this file verbatim. You can see here everything below is included from printcap local. And there's nothing in printcap local right now, so this is empty. But if there was stuff in there, it would just be included in here verbatim. And this stuff is automatically generated when LPD is initialized. Okay, so you shouldn't edit this stuff by hand. Go to the printcap local file to edit by hand. But you can see some of the information here that we entered. Okay, HP1 was the name of the queue that we made. The spool directory was automatically made under the var spool LPD directory, like I was saying before, and it's the HP1 subdirectory of that directory. You can see the device here is dev LP0, and this thing down here, the IF, is the filter. Okay. Remember how we were talking about what happens between the print queue and the actual printer? There was a driver in there, maybe GhostScript had to be used, that kind of stuff. Well, this wrapper, this filter here, takes care of that, all that stuff for you. It'll run GhostScript if it needs to, and all that kind of stuff. So if you need to run a filter, there's all sorts of filters in there. The MF wrapper filter is the one that it picked by default, and hopefully that'll work. We'll make sure that works in a second. Okay, so that's the Etsy printcap file, and that's how you do it. If you need to edit this manually, remember, go to the printcap local. Now, another thing that you can do with the print tool command is actually test your configuration to make sure you set it up okay, and make sure all the drivers work for your printer. Okay, so you can see our queues up here again, and we can go under the test menu and print out any number of things you can see in this menu. The most common one might be a PostScript test page in US letter size paper. Okay, and I just did that, and it's printing right now, and it's got all sorts of graphics on it. It's got the Red Hat logo because I'm doing this in Red Hat, so that's part of the test page, and it's got a bunch of other fancy characters and various grayscales of stuff. Things like that are all on the PostScript test page. You could print out a text test page to make sure that works. Occasionally, rarely, but occasionally, it will happen that text will make your computer or make your printer misbehave, and it'll print out graphics and GIF images and everything just fine, but an actual just plain text test page might mess it up. So you want to make sure you test that if you're ever going to print out plain text. You can print out a JPEG or GIF image or a bitmap image or anything like that. And whatever you're going to be printing on your printer, make sure you test all those things out and make sure the driver and everything is, and the filter is capable of handling all that. Okay, so the print tool not only configures your printer, but you can test your configuration to make sure everything's compatible between the drivers and the printer. Now let's look at the more common day-to-day activities of printing, like using the LPR command, and we'll also learn the LPQ command to examine the print queue. And then there's another command, the LPRM command, which stands for LP remove, or line printer remove, and what that does is it removes a print job from the queue before it gets printed. Okay, so let's go down into the scripts directory and we'll print one of those shell scripts that we wrote before. Let's just do the most simple thing that we can. We'll just do an LPR on demo2.sh. Okay, now because I only have one print queue on my computer, the one that we just set up, because I only have one print queue, if I just say LPR demo2.sh, the line printer daemon will figure out that this demo2.sh file should go to that HP1 print queue that we specified just a couple seconds ago. Okay, now if I had multiple print queues and multiple printers on my system, then I would have to go back and specify those. And I can do it here anyway. It's just an over specification since I only have one. But what you do is use the capital P option, and you follow that by the name of the print queue that you want to send this to. Okay, so the capital P followed by HP1 says send the demo2.sh file to the HP1 print queue. Okay, now right when I hit enter here, I'm going to immediately type LPQ so that we can see the print queue. Okay, we can see a textual representation of the print queue. Now remember that when when I type LPR, it goes from my computer, it goes over to the print queue inside in the memory, and then what it does is it goes out to the printer. It's only going to be in the print queue for a brief moment, like maybe 2 seconds, because there's nothing in front of it in the print queue printing already. Okay, so this will only last in the print queue for a very short time. So that's why I'm going to type LPQ right away after I hit enter. So here I go. I'm going to hit enter and type LPQ, and you can see here that this is the textual representation of the print queue. You can see the name of the printer is HP1, and it's at localhost because I set it up to be a local printer. Okay, there's some other information here about the server and so on. Here's the information about the wrapper, the filter, you know, the smart filter, or the thing that's going to run GhostScript for us. And then here is the actual items in the print queue. Okay, notice there's only one item in here. It's rank 1, means it's the first thing on the list that's going to be printed. Okay, here's the owner of that job, and here's the number of that job. This is pretty important because if you're going to remove the job from the print queue, you need to know this number so that when you remove the job, you remove it by specifying that number. Okay, so there's our LPR command, there's the LPQ command, and then the LPRM command would be specified with the 299. Okay, but this job's actually already out of the print queue. It's already printed. I can hear the paper ejecting behind me. So I can't do LPRM 299 now, but if it was still in the print queue, then I could do this. The only people that can remove a job from the print queue are the owner of the job and the super user. Okay, so you can't remove somebody else's job unless you're the super user. All right, so that's how I would do LPRM on this job if it was still in the print queue, but since it's not there, I can't do it. But that's the 3 most common commands that you'll use with printing: the LPR command, the LPQ command, and the LPRM command. Now let's turn our discussion to sharing files between different computers. And there's a bunch of advantages to doing this, and I've listed a few of the most common ones here. Probably the most advantageous reason is just for easy file exchange between the computers. You can certainly do something fancy like sending email back and forth from an account on each computer or something like that, but that's kind of a mess, and it's a lot easier if you can just set it up so that the files are shared, and I can go into some directory and copy a file, and that directory might really reside on some other physical computer. And then you can also conserve disk space and also reduce work for system administrators by setting up file sharing. And I'll give one example to illustrate both of these points. So suppose that you want to install some software, and everybody wants to use this software. Well, the system administrator can install that on one disk somewhere, in one directory, and make that directory shareable to everybody else. That conserves disk space because the software is only installed in one place, and it also reduces the work for the system administrator because they only had to install it in one place, and also they only have to update it and maintain it in one place. So these are some advantages of file sharing. For Linux, there's probably 2 typical scenarios that you're going to run into. You're either going to want to share files between your Linux box and some Windows machine, or between your Linux box and other Linux or Unix machines. Okay? Let's talk about Windows first. To share files between your Linux machine and a Windows machine, you use a program called Samba. Okay? Samba is just playing off the SMB acronym that used to be the acronym describing the Windows file system. SMB stands for Server Message Block. So Windows used to call their file system the Server Message Block file system. They've since changed the name to the Common Internet File System. The program was written back when SMB was common, so they've kept Samba as the name, playing off the SMB letters. Okay, so Samba is the program that you would use to share files between Windows and Linux. If you want to share files between your Linux box and other Linux Unix boxes, the most common tool is probably the network file system. Okay, this was written by Sun Microsystems, 20 years ago or something, and this is definitely the most common way to share files between Linux and other Linux or Unix boxes. Okay, so now let's go back to the Linux screen and look at how to do some of this stuff. No, you're not going crazy. This isn't a Linux box. This is actually a Windows machine. I just wanted to take a quick little 20-second diversion here and show you what you needed to do on the Windows side of thing in case you didn't know about it. I'm no Windows expert, but at least I can do this kind of stuff. So what I want to do is go into the C drive here and make this folder Perry Stuff. I want to make this shareable over the network. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on this folder, and I'm going to go under Sharing and Security and left-click on that, and now I'm up at this menu. I'm going to click on the Share This Folder over the network. It gives it a default name, the same name as the folder, and I'm going to keep that. That's fine. And it also has the box checked for allow network users to change my files. I'm going to leave that checked as well. This is truly shared now. Okay, this folder here, Perry Stuff, people can write to it as long as they have an account on this Windows machine. Okay, so I'm going to click apply here, and then I'm going to close this window, and when we go out now, you'll see the little hand